I'm deep in the Alaska wilderness with author and Navy SEAL officer Rorke Denver.
You got a black bear swimming across this lake.
We've been chasing black bears for almost a week with nothing but a few distant sightings and a bit of a close call with a pair of grizzlies.
We were standing right in their kitchen, man.
It's now or never as we make our final push toward what looked at a glance to be a big black bear. I'd hate for us to leave disappointed. I'm Stephen Rinella. To me, hunting isn't only about the pursuit of an animal. It's about who we are and what we're made of. I live to hunt and hunt to live. I am a meat eater.
Okay, he's up. There he is, him. I don't see him. Talk me into it again. He's out of view. He went down into that. It's real hilly. The advantage is there's a lot of little open patches, so we gotta get over somewhere where we can try to get a better view of him. With the wind being like it is, I would be like, well, we'll go that way and get our wind different, or go that way and get our wind different, but that's just alder-choked hellhole. Alder-choked hellhole. We're just gonna kind of push up toward him and hopefully catch him out in some open stuff. It's very iffy, but I wanna go now.
If you sense a bit of desperation in my voice, you're right. I've been living under constant self-induced pressure to find a good bear. 5 days ago, I flew into a remote area near the Alaska range with decorated Navy SEAL Commander Rorke Denver, who wanted to learn to hunt. Determined to give him a challenge he wouldn't forget, I decided we'd go after black bears in some real trophy country.
Oh man, is this a pretty spot?
Unbelievable.
Fortune seemed to favor us for a time as we were blessed with gorgeous weather and several distant sightings. But after a promising lead led to a close encounter with a pair of grizzlies, our luck turned and the sightings stopped. Now, on the last evening of the last day, with the looming prospect of letting down my distinguished guest, an opportunity has thankfully presented itself on a nearby ridge. I don't know if it's a big bear or even if we'll find it again, but it's our last best hope. At this point, I want this even more than Rorke does. We settle in at a comfortable distance from where I expect the bear to be, and I give a few bleats on a predator call to try to coax him out of the brush.
There he is. Okay, you're right. Take a look at him. Yeah, go ahead and shoot. He's gonna keep coming. Oh, he's gonna keep coming. What's wrong? Couldn't see him. Should have got up. Yeah, you could have shot him right there, but don't take it if it's not right. He's gonna be right on top of us now. Shot him right there. He's right here, he's right here, he's right here. I'm looking at his head. You got that spot mark?
Right where I hit?
Yeah. Yeah. Watch all that stuff. Okay. He turned like he got hit. I want to watch to see which way he's going to go when he leaves. If he's wounded, I want to get another shot at him.
Looking at his face when, like, I tried to disassociate with it, but he had a beautiful face. Like, I mean, it was like a good-looking bear. Like, when I was like, I'm looking at a bear.
Something about a bear, man. They're powerful critters. There's just something, you know what I mean?
No, I do indeed, as of about 4 minutes ago.
As Rorke approaches, I watch for the bear in case it tries to scramble off.
You can see the little bug.
Oh, nice. That's a mature bear. That's like a grown-up bear, man. Okay. Nice shot. That's a boar. I'm telling you, dude, when I invited you to come out bear hunting, this is like the bear I wanted.
This was the bear I wanted.
I'm just so happy you had a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause like we landed and I'm like, this dude's got the wrong idea about Alaska, man. It's like sunny and nice out. We're like hanging out on some dude's deck. I'm like, this is not what it's all about.
Yeah.
And then we go down to fish and there's no fish. There's no bears. It's like bad. I'm like, now he's getting the wrong idea about Alaska in the other direction.
Mosquitoes everywhere. I don't think we've mentioned the bugs the entire time we've been on camera.
I was picturing you going home and being like, well, I liked it for a minute.
Yeah.
When I landed the plane, I thought it was a sweet place. And then everything went down,
I think the only saving grace is being a lifelong fisherman. If you think catching fish is what you're gonna be doing every time, and my dad, brother, and I fish a lot, I'm happy if we're catching fish, but I just like fishing with my dad and brother. So I mean, catching fish is just a bonus. But more than anything, I just wanted the full experience. You know, I mean, I felt like if we got to this point, not anticlimactic, I wouldn't have gone home and said, well, this wasn't the deal to be a part of. It's just I wouldn't have learned. I wouldn't have learned the final, the shot, the like, let's pursue it, let's see what it looks like, let's skin it out and do the deal.
If I could have known what would happen, I wouldn't have a thing different.
No, I wouldn't now either.
Because had we climbed up this hill and it'd been crawling with bears, we'd have shot a couple bears in a couple minutes.
No, it would have been.
I would have been I would have been like, well, that's good, but I would have been mildly disappointed.
I'd say right about this afternoon was about the first time I was kind of looking at my watch and looking at the date, being like, we might be heading home without a bear.
Oh man, this is great. I'm glad it worked, man. I really wanted you to have a good time because, like, you went down a path to do for service, you know, service to the country. And I just went down a different road, you know what I mean? And when I look at, especially over the last, 14 years or 13 years of combat that the country's been involved in, it's just something that weighs on me. And for whatever reason, I wanted you to experience this and have a good time. It's like to take you out here and show you this world. It's like a thank you.
I appreciate it.
For doing the stuff you do and being the guy you were, man.
In my mind, this is what it ends up being about. I mean, it's like you get these special moments after service, after time in ugly places. You come home and see. This morning when we were taking turns glassing, I looked out at those white tip mountains.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, it's a gift, man. I mean, everything after some of those experiences is just like a cherry on top. So I appreciate you suffering me up here. It's been well worth it.
Your shot's so square on, we're gonna use that as our starting point. No, you're doing perfect. So that's the baculum. You get this cleaned up, get it fitted with one of those laser pointers, so when you're doing presentations, it's just beautiful, beautiful. You know what trichinosis is?
Yep.
90% of the trichinosis cases in the U.S. come from black bear meat. Now you think about how many people are eating black bear meat, not that many.
Right.
A bear like this, he's getting all up there in years. It's a safe assumption. Treat it as though it does, okay? Mm-hmm. Don't eat any of this bear without cooking it to 160. Some people like to have a bear steak. I like bear meat pot roasted, slow cooked. Because this stuff's gonna be getting cooked, I do things that just kind of account
add flavor to it.
And just kind of account for like a long cooking process. Yeah, that's cool. There's probably more variability in bear meat, from one bear to the next than most game animals, where you get those bears that have been feeding on salmon. Guys will say that you just put on some cheap rainwear, skin those bears and throw that rainwear out. The meat smells that foul.
That rank.
If I'm guessing this bear is probably eating many, many, many more pounds of berries
right.
than salmon, particularly because you got the grizzlies in this area and they'll kind of dominate those streams.
Sure, yeah, right.
Black bears will be up higher. So I think he's gonna be good. He smells good. You know, the meat smells fine. But I'm always a little bit curious. It's always fun to like, you know, to dig into that first bit and see what you're dealing with, you know. If it tastes funky,
You just know.
you'll know.
Yeah.
And then you know to do more crazy stuff with it. So if this thing tastes pretty good, it'll open up a lot of possibilities. You can do like simpler dishes with it. You don't age bear meat because the fat is volatile. When you freeze it, trim all that fat away because the fat will turn in your
Before
freezer.
you freeze it.
It'll rot in your freezer.
Uh-huh.
In 6 months, you pull it out, it'll have changed color, it'll be nasty. Once you render it, you've gotten rid of all the impurities, all the water and everything in there, and then it becomes much more stable. You can put it in the freezer and it just stays snow white, you know, for a long, long time. How's that look?
It looks delicious.
Let's see. If you get something that looks really rare, halt. I don't think you will. No, we're good. We're good. Like, I always think you wouldn't taste it and be like, oh, that's beef. But it's reminiscent of it in a way, you know, of brisket.
I mean, it definitely is, like it's game. Like I can taste game, but I would not say to someone it's gamey.
Yeah. Now the weather's going bad. I think it's our day to crawl out of here.
Yeah.
But I'd hate to have you leave this area without catching a grayling,
No, it wouldn't feel right.
which is kind of the most Alaskan of fish, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Since that river's so muddy and blown out, we'll just go hit Buck's Lake.
I think it'd be just right.
After we catch some fish and stuff, I'll cook a piece of bear meat in a way that I would do it at home, you know what I mean? Where if I was trying to
Transform it
have,
a little bit.
yeah, where if I was having people over for dinner and I was gonna cook them bear meat and I wanted them to say something like, oh my God, I can't believe that's bear meat, it's so good. I'll show you something like that.
I love it, I love it.
Bear meat, I like to make sausages, smoked and cured meats like hams, and I like to make slow cooked or braised or pot roast like dishes with it. What I'm working on now is I just took a shank from the bear. So that would be, on a person, it'd be like right here. You can cook the shank whole, like cut it here, and cook it whole, or you can cut it into discs.
This is really just a variation on an Italian dish called asabuko, which means bone with a hole, and it's typically made with veal or lamb. The idea is to take a cut of meat that would otherwise be way too tough for anything besides grinding and slowly cook it in liquid for several hours until it breaks down and begins to fall apart.
The goal is you'll get it to where it's fork tender, where you just take it and pull it apart. It should be that you can imagine, when you're done cooking this thing, you should be able to imagine you'd grab that bone like this and flick it and all the meat would come off. That's how far down you want to cook it.
After browning the pieces of bear shank, lay them on a bed of vegetables in a large deep pot, fill it halfway with stock, and let it simmer for the next few hours.
You cook it so long, in fact, you can put it on and then go do something like go fishing while it cooks.
Now keep in mind that you may need to top off the liquid periodically. I highly recommend having a helpful TV crew to tend to it while you go do fun stuff.
We're headed over on Buck's Lake here. It's a really shallow lake. There's some beaver lodges over here. And when beavers build those lodges, you know, they're packed with mud, and they excavate all that mud off the bottom out in front of the lodge. So oftentimes in a shallow lake like this, if you find a beaver lodge, the deepest spot in that lake's gonna be right around the front of that thing. Just a good place to start.
So it's funny, I've fished almost no still water. And there's a lot of great lakes in Northern California, but I just never really fished any.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Wow. Dude, that's a beautiful rainbow, man. Let's go poke around the boat a little bit.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, there he is.
It's grayling. Nice. Tell you what, buddy, you might not be big, but you're gonna get cooked.
Just getting them.
Oh, there's one.
Get them.
This is sweet looking fish, man.
Boom.
Oh, yeah. Okay, one more, we got our limit. Oh, it's a tackle thrasher. Limit it out. Yeah, you'll like these grayling, man.
You have a preference for fish?
I like fried fish. I'm from Michigan, man. To accompany the fish, I'm gonna cook some of this cow parsnip. It's a lot like celery. It's strong tasting. If you got a kid that thinks he doesn't like vegetables, you give him this and you'll have something to really complain about. But when you get older, you kind of bend around the block a little more and you realize that things have different tastes and textures. When you start to enjoy that, it's pretty good stuff. I'm gonna cook the grayling in a basket because they're pretty fragile fish. I'm gonna brush these grayling with a little oil. So I'm moving on to the rainbow now. Put some stuff in there, put some stuff here. And I'm gonna lay that oiled side down on the grill. And the key is to not monkey with this thing. If I decide in a couple minutes, I get really impatient, I'm like, oh man, I wanna see what's going on, I wanna flip him. You're gonna flip him, it's gonna rip him apart because he's gonna be cooked to the grill. If you leave him on long enough, it'll cook and the fish will release. So just don't screw with it. And when you do screw with it, just move it a little bit until you see that he's free. If not, you're just gonna tear him to pieces.
So our bear asabuko is looking mighty tasty, and these grayling are grilled to perfection. As we wait on our plane, Rorke and I sit on Buck's porch for one final meal, a very different sort of surf and turf.
Grayling isn't terribly bony, so you kind of pull, you know.
Oh man, it's good.
It's a good fish.
It's real good. I think that parsnip's great.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't mind it. I just wanted to prep you for the fact that it's not like something, you know. It's definitely not a green bean. This rainbow is gonna be a little darker. Oh man, it's good. That's good stuff too. Tap into this bear and see what this is all about. You know, eating it on the mountain, we were just eating bear meat.
Yeah.
Caveman style. This is more in line with what I would, you know, what I would do at home.
What you'd want to do with it.
See how those pieces want to come right out of there? At this point, you could just have some dudes over your house and just be like, oh, I made a pot roast. And they would be whatever.
100%.
They'd be like, yeah. They would never be like, what the hell is that?
No, that is, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's nice, huh?
Really good. I feel that there's those meals, you know, for whatever reason you kind of dread. I feel like roasts and things like that were not something I enjoyed as a kid.
Oh, yeah?
The flavor of this, though, I mean, blows the doors off what I think is a regular roast. There's some level of just a little bit of gaminess. Excellent.
Well, man, I can't thank you enough for coming out.
I appreciate it. I
Great
mean,
to have you out.
I can count, you know, some of those special trips I've been on. I mean, I remember a trip when I was, you know, 10 or 12. We went up into this high lake country in the Trinity Alps in Northern California, stayed for a few days, caught fish, cooked it outside. And this one, that's one of those kind of seminal anchor point trips, and this will be another one. And I think the commonalities between our worlds, it's kind of been fascinating, is the way we're moving, you know, towards that bear, the way we're closing ground and using the terrain to get there. It's the same. I mean, it's the same deal.
The thing that hit me most about it was when you were rounding that corner. After you shot that bear, you were around that corner. I was like, that dude holds his rifle in the way that hunters do not. I don't know what it was, but how do you guys hold? It kind of had this like, it wasn't like the old classic down by your side swing. I was like, that dude's ready. He's ready to be jumped.
He said, go check that bear. I said, okay, man. It'd be the first one I've seen. I didn't know if it was going to come screaming around.
I was like, that's a man who's accustomed to there maybe being something around that corner.
Laughing with Rorke, I couldn't help but consider the wildly different paths that people can take in life. There we were, two guys the same age, grew up outdoors, married, 2 kids each, writers, who explored and lived all over the country. But riding above those similarities is one huge glaring difference that rips us apart like lightning. Rorke chose the path of the warrior, one that he knew would absolutely lead him to dark and dangerous places from which he might not return. I chose something different, safer, more fun, more freedom, but not as rewarding and damn sure not as selfless.
This has been a great trip, man, and thank you again for all the service and the writing.
I've been humbled to be a part of it, and I'm delighted that you gave me the chance to come join. I'd come again anytime.